Boom! You know, bro, got vibrant, bad like way power and rory. But here what? At the time for the lion, them tell them story. Lion voice. A bro, got vibrant. I said, don't listen to it once, don't listen to it twice. Subscribe, like, and share. You hear? Boom! Cause just because I hear them. Cause them a fast and pray just to see we fail. Lion voice. Boom, got vibrant rep.
Well, front to us a son was born and a child was given.
I want to ask you a question. Have you got your book? Haile Selassie's Ethiopia Volume 1, The Rise of the Priest Warrior King. I've read the book in its entirety, and I must say it's very inspirational, very informative, and very historical, right?
Them call him Rastafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them call him Rastafari. When he was grown in airplanes he fly. They call him Rastafari. Lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Rastafari. Read your Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration for Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England.
Our elders told us this, and I said it before. When our elders first came with this sound, they were seen as delusional, heretics, all kind of thing. Again, even the church, one of the main entities to condemn. We won't talk about the prescription drugs and how most of them people there, alcohol and prescription drugs. We're not going to talk about that because it's not a tit for tat. But they condemn I and I for the use of the herb. Look down, dirty, stinking Rastafari. Yet still, it was the poor, it was the sick, it was the needy, particularly in America, who lobbied to get medical cannabis legalized and to prove and get the studies, to get the data, because a lot of the research was being suppressed. And now we find out that herb truly is the healing of the nation. And one of the reasons I love this book is because it talks about all of the uses, not just for cannabis, but hemp, which is the cousin. You can literally make houses, yeah, food, everything. So a lot of the world's problems, deforestation, where they're cutting down the place for timber, hemp can replace a lot of those things. So literally, this plant is the healing of the nation. It's being suppressed because so many industries would be impacted. But this is what our elders chanted for. And we, as the younger youths coming up, we're adults now, come and see that everything that they said has been proven factual.
Well, a lot of people decide to use chemical fertilizers versus natural fertilizers like dry amendments and things of that nature because of the onset of how fast the plant receives the nutrients. Now, that also speeds up production. That can be a pro and a con. For some people, they say we don't get full expression of the plant.
Okay, if you speed it up.
Yeah. So if a plant finishes in 10 weeks, but you'll finish it in 8, that's 2 weeks short. That's 4 weeks short of your dry time. That's a lot of things that's changing.
Yeah.
So of course the herb is gonna taste much different.
Okay.
You're not even gonna see the full expression of it.
So you're saying that a lot of these grows, and you don't have to call any names, are they under these kind of pressures where they're, harvesting?
It's a business. It's a business. I don't mean to cut you off, Reg, but it's a business, Reg. We said that in the very beginning, Reg.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Summers on the track.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Panafrican Happy Man. I'm an entertainment attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I'm the host of the Lion Voice. Welcome to another episode of the Lion Voice. We are bubbling, and I have to give thanks to all of the new subscribers. The Lion Pride is growing. We're 760 plus strong at the time of this recording. So remember, if you subscribe, you're part of the Lion Pride. Have to big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. Why are we here today? We are here today to talk about Rastafari and Ganja, or Rastafari and Cannabis. Some call it marijuana. So let's talk about the topic of the show. Why do Rastafari use Ganja? The answer is that Ganja is a sacrament. And by sacrament, we mean something that is sacred, something that is holy, something that is mysterious. It's a spiritual context. This is the way that Rastafari commune with the Most High, commune with the earth, commune with each other. And remember that when the elders first started using the sacrament, they had no idea that the human brain was full of receptors for THC, or that there was even a system within the body called the endocannabinoid system. They had no idea that these things existed. And this is why we say our elders did not miss. Everything that they said was proven correct. It was science that later come and show us that these things are indeed part of the reality. So by connecting with this synergistic system, activating that third eye, it puts Rastafari within a spiritual context so that they are able to think in a prophetic way. So when the elders again said that Babylon will fall, all of these things that we're seeing now, there are so many utterances that the Rastafari elders made that have been proven correct. These were revelations in large part that were made as a result, or in part because of the communion with the holy herb. Now, in the modern time, a lot of brethren and sisters are not using it in a sacramental way. And I attribute this to the use of grabber and the addiction of nicotine that happens when these ones and ones are sprinkling, or crushing out, or rubbing out. So you have that biological need then to smoke like you smoke a cigarette. And when I was a young Ras, you would always give thanks every time a spliff was lighted. You would say a prayer or psalms when the chalice was lit, or some type of prayer. And a lot of these traditions, because one's burning the Bible, one's doing these things, have fallen away. So that sacramental use has been degraded. But we also see that the movement itself and the power, some of it has been degraded. But there are still ones that hold on fast to the sacramental use, and that is the core. And a lot of that would be, again, the Rasta part. This is where Rasta start to break down. Rastafari never left that sacramental use. And I give thanks that in Jamaica, the Dangerous Drugs Act has been amended to allow for the sacramental use of herb, and that the Ministry of Justice is currently in negotiations with the community to recognize spaces throughout the island where Rastafari can use the herb in a sacramental way without fear of persecution by law enforcement. So we'll get into a lot more in the episode. We're just getting started. 420 is coming up. So I said, let us do something that speaks to this. You see, we're kind of going forward to the basics. This is the solution side of the internet. We're going to be touching all type of topics, but I realize just in reasoning, with ones and ones. We're talking about the building of Zion, what this looks like. But to get there, we have to set a firm foundation on this platform. And remember that this platform is the second largest search engine on the planet behind Google, owned by Google. But it's the second largest search engine. So people come here for information. So we want to be able to leave information. And again, I'm an actionist. So I created the channel that I would have loved to have as a young Ras coming up within the trad. And I want to just big up all of the brethren and sistren who have been in the comments, the different reasonings that have been happening. We don't have to always agree, but we give thanks that we have a platform where we can reason these things, and I encourage it. And I'm not the type of person where I have to agree or I'm right on everything. It's a reasoning. So, feel free. Enough brethren writing and say, me not agree with this. This is how it go. That is how it go. And we're all entitled to our perspective. That is how reasoning is built. That is how I was trained coming into this trad, as young Rastafari brethren and sistren. We used to gather and we used to reason vigorously and one hold this position. And, we're reading different books. We're going through different trad experience. Same thing when I would travel to Jamaica and sit amongst the brethren. So this is part of what we want to bring to the YouTube experience. So again, feel free to comment. Feel free to leave your thoughts. But let us get into today's topic. Have to big up our sponsor though, CMOS Life. If you want to live the good life, all of these essential minerals, it's Armageddon. We know World War III has already begun. It's unfolding. They're forecasting economic collapse, all of these things. Are you going to be prepared with your structure? You have to make sure that you're ready and fit in these times, because as we saw with COVID, those with compromised immune systems did not fare well. So, and those are just the beginning of woes. So we have to be prepared, and I use CMOS to help accomplish that. So big up the sponsor, CMOS. We're going to be bringing on some other sponsors. Also in the monetization, today we're going to talk about herb, and as the reading Ras, I wanted to start to introduce some different books and reading. So today, this is the book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It's a very good book, Jack Herrera. Anyone who's in the cannabis space will know this book. I want to recommend it. We have joined the Amazon affiliate program. So again, I always tell everyone this is the greatest time in the world to be a content creator. Why? Because there are various ways to monetize your creative work. Affiliate marketing programs are one of them. Talking about books, so you go through the link that we have in the description, purchase the book, you support the channel in that way. So give thanks, and I'm going to try to do more of that. As the reading Ras, we want to continue the tradition of reading physical books. Very important that we read some physical books, because internet can crash, and the way US are going in Ukraine and Russia and China and the BRICS countries and all of these things, we don't know. Cyber war, internet crash, what are you going to do? So make sure you have your Trueberry, and that is part of the Rastafari man standard. Everyone have to have their Trueberry. We lift up the flag where you see books, and that is intentional that we do the video here, because knowledge is key. Also, we have signed copies of Haile Selassie's Ethiopia. Again, I wrote the book I always wanted to see. I love epic fiction, like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, all of these kind of books that, give you a universe of fiction. But when I was studying Ethiopian history, one of the things that struck me is that this could be an epic fantasy just by saying the facts. So I wrote that book, and it's here, Haile Selassie's Ethiopia, the epic story of the birth of LIDJ Tafari. So if you want to get a signed copy, we have them available on the website. You can purchase them as well, and overseas, it's also available on Amazon. But again, I would ask, purchase it from the website. We get a bigger split of the revenue when you purchase it direct. Amazon, for those who know book publishing, there's a reason why Jeff Bezos make the money where he makes. So that is part of it. Anyway, let's get forward to today's topic, which is Rastafari and Ganja. Why do Rastafari use Ganja? What is the association? Where does this association come from? And I did, a little bit of YouTube research, and I saw different videos out there. I want to big up one of I bona fide brethren, Kadamawi Knife. I Never Knew TV. Some very powerful interviews. Definitely go check out I Never Knew TV. I have been interviewed on that platform, on the Ballad and the Dread platform on I Never Knew TV. So definitely go support. That's his family, big up Brethren Atarchi and the Brethren over there who doing powerful work. But I'm not an expert on cannabis, so I don't want to put myself out like I'm an expert. I have lived in the Rastafari livity for over 2 decades, and in that way, we have come across the plant in various facets during the journey. We went through the chalice phase, we went through, and I say phase because true we in America, and the economics of chalice livity don't work out in America. It's not something that, although we have chalice man, we're regular chalice, these men are usually engaged in the industry in some way, why they could sustain that type of level of interaction with the herb. But we lived that as young brethren coming up in the trad in the Nyabingi house, chalice sessions, chalice reasoning, very important. And we'll talk about all of that here. Also want to just cut to a very special interview I did with a grower that I know here in Washington, D.C. And we are here with a very special guest in a very special location. We're here live in Southeast D.C., the last reservoir of the Chocolate City. I have a very special brother here with I, and we're headed toward the 420. And we decided to bring a special guest, someone with some expert knowledge. Just so happened, Brethren used to be my neighbor, so the Most High brings ones within your sphere for a reason and for a season. And we give thanks because we always have to big up the farmer. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about a brethren named Angel, who's a real earth angel.
Peace.
You know what I mean? Blessing. Just introduce yourself for the Lion Pride, the Lion Voice family.
Yeah, my name is Angel. Yeah, I've pretty much been growing for about 15 years now. I met the brother as my neighbor, like, as he said, and, the stars align,
Yes.
So I'm very grateful.
Give thanks. And I tell people that my superpower is the network, and the network is ever expanding, which is why it's such a power. So I wanted to get right into the topic. We're talking about cannabis. For Rastafari, very special plant. It's a herb that we consider the healing of the nation. My elders in Rastafari told I that this plant, had the power to save humanity. This was before all the books that were written and all of these things, and people used to laugh at them, call them delusional. So this brother is well educated. I want you to, just talk about the plant, cannabis, what it means today, how you became aware, some of the things that you studied. Just bring us, for those who are not familiar with this plant, because I don't want people to think it's just Rastafari just talking about this plant. You know what I mean? So,
well, my first exposure to the plant was at a very young age. Teenage years. A lot of people, know about smoking the herb, but they don't know like the biological background behind the herb and the benefits of it. They just see it as a ways to get inebriated to some extent, or to get relaxed, depending on what the person is using it for. So, yeah, it's really important to know the history about what you're actually putting inside your body. So, I just took it upon myself after some years to really study and show myself approved.
Okay, and you said you studied. What type of work do you do with the plant?
Everything. I mean, from stressing it out to see how much, it can take to, taking care of it till its final age, all the way up to you can't mother it no more. It's reached its capacity.
Okay, so to talk to me about what are some of the benefits of the plant?
It's a lot of benefits. You can use it for a lot of different things. Sleep aid. You can use it as a rub for muscle pain, and a lot of people like to use it for focus too.
Yeah.
It all depends on which variety you decide to use it and how you use it.
So break down that variety. I know there's the indica and then you have the sativa. Break down what's the difference. What's indica? What's sativa?
Well, a lot of people like to have variations between the two, depending on where it's grown, how it's grown, the height difference, and the genetics of the plant overall. So, all those things make the difference in, what is considered an indica or sativa. But most of the time nowadays, a lot of the plant has been mixed down, I say, or crossbred. So a lot of stuff is hybrid.
That's
so you don't see a lot of don't see a lot of land race.
Okay.
Sativas, a lot of land race indicas, most definitely, unless you get the genetics, the true genetics.
Okay. So talk to me. What does land race? Because I hear that term used. What does that mean?
So a land race strain is something that is basically known according to that region.
Okay.
What's grown naturally in that area. Like in Nepal, they have a strain called Nepali Puck, and that's known as a Nepalese strand grown in Nepal.
Okay.
So that's a land race strand.
That would be like Thai stick.
Yes.
Them kind of.
Yes.
Malawi gold.
Yes.
Them kind of.
Yeah, Acapulco gold and
Acapulco gold.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Panama haze.
Okay. Okay. And those, you don't really hear about those anymore.
You do. They're trying to bring back a lot of those genetics. But for people like you that are elders, what the original, strands is supposed to taste like and look like, and a lot of things have changed now.
And I don't want to claim that elder yet. I'm on my way, but I'm not quite an elder. So big up all of the elders. But because I remember, used to hear about herb like purple haze. Used to hear about, but now everything is OG this, OG that. The name, you can't even keep up with the names and the strains anymore. What are the benefits, do you think, or are there any benefits of the original land race compared to what they're doing now? Or
well, with the original land race strains, you kind of know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You kind of know what effect you're gonna get. Some people have different responses to different things, just like any of a herb or plants or medicine in the earth. So you actually have to try it out to see how it's supposed to respond to your body. So if you have something that's original, you know what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So then you apply it to yourself.
So you're not a virgin that just grow herb in his house. You actually work in the industry.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what's that's like.
It's very different. Growing in your own private time where you're relaxed and you can focus more, have a more relation with the plant. It's a different experience than working where you're on a clock and you have to do things in certain order.
Okay.
And everything's not the same. Everything has to be more uniform because they're looking for, numbers versus getting full potential of the plant.
Okay. Because they gotta be harvested at a certain time.
Yes.
Gotta be ready.
Yes.
Because it's a business.
Yes.
So what do you prefer? Growing for yourself or growing in the business part?
You have to start there first. Grow for yourself first.
Grow for yourself first.
Yeah, before you get into business, I say that's the best thing to try to do.
Just grow for
Yeah,
yourself.
be one with the plant.
So how did you get into the formal part of the business? We're in Washington, D.C. right now. Obviously, there was a referendum here and cannabis was made legal. Here, they don't have a regime where you can sell, but there are dispensaries that are growing for primarily the medical side here in D.C.
But I know it must not be easy to get some of these jobs. How were you able to?
Very easy, bro.
Oh, it's,
Yeah, it's very easy, bro. You
okay.
know, it's misconception, a lot of misconception.
Mhm.
You know, it's not like some people say, so who you know and stuff like that. No, it's online, just like every other job. It's on Indeed, you know, you just have to type it in. And then if they do call you, come, because they have millions of people that want to apply. So, you know, if you actually get called, they want you to come.
Okay.
So if you don't come, it's almost like your name is on the blacklist now. You know, not saying you can't apply for another place and have another opportunity in another company, but you know, it's a small industry and everybody knows everybody.
Okay.
So it's
relationship, because
Yeah.
I talk a lot about business and relationships and network. So same thing in the cannabis
Yes.
industry. Network, you get a reputation
Yes.
as a grower. Talk to me about your vision. What do you think this plant can do if it's left to do what it?
It's limitless. It's limitless, Reg. Limitless. It's already healing people now.
Yeah.
People already see the benefits of it. Because if they didn't, this wouldn't be an industry for us to, you know, expose to the world.
Yeah.
Again, for a second time.
Yes. So, what would you like to see being done that's not maybe currently
Just more
being done?
more education.
Okay.
More education, you know, for the people that don't know, that have stigmas against, you know, what the benefits of the plant can be, and you know, changes in jobs for people that actually use the herb for medical purposes. You know, it should be a change for people. You know, if it's a medical condition and they're using it as such, then it should be treated as such.
That's all. Instead of the opioids, which we know America is going through an opioid crisis,
and they hand them out like candy.
You can get a prescription very easily. Your job is not going to check you for no form of opiate. You can. Now talk to me about your own enterprise, because I know that you're not just you're also an entrepreneur. What's your vision for your you have a company. You talk to us about your company, why you started it, what's the vision?
Infinite Growth DC .com is the website. Basically, it's just to teach people how to grow, teach people education about the plant, the misnomers, the stigmas, pretty much where it came from, how we can show you the benefits of it and how it's been helping other people, as well as if you want to, you know, put together a home grow, and if you live in a place where it's legal, and we can show you how to set that up according to whatever budget, you know, you're interested in.
Thanks. And I've been encouraging the brethren to start a YouTube channel, so I hope that's, you know.
Yeah, it's in the works, brother.
It's in the works because he has a wealth of knowledge, and you know, this is the content creator era. You see, I'm in my shirt. This is my merch, the Reading Ras merch. Make sure you go to the website, support the merch. Big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. There's so many ways for content creators to monetize. So if you have any knowledge base, you know, it's very important to really get into the content creation game, because content's not going anywhere. And for the first time, you know, we have access to a global marketplace, you know, for you know, relatively low cost. You know, I'm filming this on my phone, my smartphone right now. You know what I mean? We got the mics. Big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. But it's the time. So we want this brother, when he start his channel, we're gonna bring him forward, so we can make everybody know how they can find the channel. You know, just give us any other sounds, because I know you're a busy man. You got places to be. What other sounds can you share with us, just in regards to this plant for the beginner or somebody who's just trying to, you know, happen along, and they want to know more? What would you advise them?
If you've ever grown anything, any type of herbs in your garden, there's not much difference. If you're growing a tomato, they say it's the closest thing in relation to cannabis is a tomato.
Okay.
So if you know how to treat that and feed them, then you'll be safe with learning how to, you know, start out without any real big problems.
Yeah. before we go, talk to me about the chemicals and the fertilizers. Is that a big issue in the industry? Are they? Because one of the things people say with this new herb, they put in a lot of fertilizer, a lot of things that potentially could have some detriments that are different. If you with Rastafari, we're big on ITA, natural type growing. Is that an issue that you've seen in growing?
Well, a lot of people decide to use chemical fertilizers versus natural fertilizers like dry amendments and things of that nature because of the onset of how fast the plant receives the nutrients. Now, that also speeds up production. That can be a pro and a con. For some people, they say we don't get full expression of the plant.
Okay, if you speed it up.
Yeah. So if a plant finishes in 10 weeks, but you'll finish it in 8, that's 2 weeks short. That's 4 weeks short of your dry time. It's a lot of things that's changing.
Yeah.
So of course the herb is gonna taste much different.
Okay.
You know, you're not even gonna see the full expression of it.
So you're saying that a lot of these grows, and you don't have to call any names, are they under these kind of pressures where they're,
It's
harvesting
a business. It's a business. I don't mean to cut you off, Reg, but it's a business, Reg. We said that in the very beginning, Reg. You know, you can't. The demand of the herb cannot meet the time frame in which they want it, Reg. So it's an ever-growing industry, but we have to hone what would be best for the patient and the person that is actually going to consume it overall. You know, because you're not going to get the full expression.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the full experience. You'll never know.
Another final question. My channel, we talk about the building of Zion, heaven on earth. Manifesting that heaven on earth. You know what I mean? Do you think we'll ever see a time where herb just grows wild everywhere? Like we're in a park right now where there will just be herb just growing.
In our country, probably. In certain places, you'll see it. But in DC, probably not. I don't know, Brad. If it is growing there, it's a special place.
It's special.
Yeah.
I used to know some brethren back in the day that used to grow in Rock Creek Park. They would climb up in the trees and find things, and they put the plants up in the trees.
It's called perching, Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, we perch on trees all the time. That's an old school.
Okay.
Yeah, thing. So there's no way to mess up your plant. Nobody messes with it. Can't reach up there.
Yeah.
Unless they have a ladder or can climb. So that's called perching your tree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you see, people, this is not a brethren who just new to the thing and just come in and talk. You know what he's talking about. Because these are some Congo man I know used to do this way back in the 90s,
Cannabis has been made legal. So we do have legal cannabis. You cannot buy cannabis in DC, but it is legal for recreational and medicinal purposes. You're able to grow up to 6 plants in your house, and also you're able to carry up to a certain amount of cannabis on your person in DC. And I never know I would have lived to see that, because I've been in DC over 20 years. I never know I would have lived to see that. But we see it, and now there's nowhere you're going to go out in DC and you don't smell the sweet fragrance of cannabis wafting through the air. All of the spots, H Street, U Street, Adams Morgan, Georgetown, you name the spot, that's now part of, people don't even turn their head anymore when they see it. This was prophesied by the elders, and we're going to touch on that too. So let us jump into the program. So the origin of Rastafari and Ganja. Let's just understand that Ganja is something that is part of the human story. Cannabis sativa was part of the human story. We look at even in the Emperor Wears No Clothes, they talk about the history where it was found woven fabrics of hemp cloth, 8,000 BC, 7,000 BC. It was written about in Chinese medicine in the BC time as well. One of the oldest recorded
herbal plants. It's been used by mankind through the ages in Africa as well. The tradition has been there of using cannabis in the Northeast Africa, which they call the Middle East. They found cannabis seeds all throughout the ritual Hebrew sites and things. So they know that cannabis was one of the ingredients in the anointing oil. It's likely Yeshua himself was anointed with the cannabis oil. All of this information is available online. You can research these things. So that's just some history. But in terms of Rastafari in Jamaica, oftentimes it's associated with the interaction with the East Indian community there. I don't know the intricate spot about that, but I know that Africans were using the cannabis in Africa and likely brought cannabis seeds with them to Jamaica during the transatlantic slave trade. We know that Africans put seeds under their tongues in different places and they would bring them into the New World. That's how we got Aki, for example, which is from West Africa. So we know that seeds were being taken into the New World, and I'm likely cannabis was one of them. However, in the Indian community, cannabis is also used as a sacrament. The Hindus, the sadhus, you see them with their long locks. They smoke cannabis. They call it bang or different names when they use it. Ganja itself comes from an Indian word from the river Ganges. And when you look into the history of the river Ganges, you find out that Ganges was an Ethiopian king who establishes his domain in that region. And when you look into the history, I keep saying this, when you talk about the Hindu Kush, Kush and the Kushites, all of those regions, there was a time when Kush was the largest empire on the planet, and it stretched into these regions. So those southern Indian empires, they were African people, and you can still see that on the islands off of the coast of India and these uncontacted islands. When you look at the people, are straight African people. So the story is still there. So either way you put it, whether it's our East Indian brothers or coming through from the African who were enslaved, the use of cannabis was a tradition that didn't start with the revelation of His Imperial Majesty. However, when we look at our founding father, or one of our founding fathers, Leonard Howell, and his agricultural foundation and the settlement at Pinnacle, we see that cannabis was one of the major crops that was being grown at Pinnacle. It wasn't the only crop, yet they were selling other foods in the market, and this sets the black print for how Rastafari view herb. The herb is the healing of the nation, but it's not just cannabis. Cannabis is one of many herbs that we really cite and that we really use as Rastafari people. And I'm going to give some of my personal opinions about, cannabis in Jamaica, what's happening. I work very closely with brethren and sisters in Jamaica on these issues as a part of the Haile Selassie Foundation for Law and Society. I've been blessed to be a part of a lot of non-profit works that have happened over the years. So I'm not just active in my local Washington, D.C. region. I'm very active in Jamaica. We're also active in Africa, specifically in Ghana through the works with Habisha. So we have a lot, and I keep saying that the network is a superpower, and we'll bring on some of the people from those works onto the Lion Talk, and we'll put little snippets in this, as we're going to do with this episode with a ganja grower named Angel, who's growing here locally. So we'll have some of his highlights from a future Lion Talk episode. So there is so much that we can say about the use of cannabis, but it becomes associated at Pinnacle with the Rastafari community. It becomes the basis of that economics. Pinnacle was raided and destroyed in the late 50s, and from that Rastafari has not ever recovered, because that destabilization set a precedence of poverty within the movement. Pinnacle was not an impoverished community. When they raided Pinnacle, people were living well. They were living in harmony. They were living in peace. You know, they had created an agrarian enterprise and society, the Howlites, and we have to big up and always remember their contribution, because even right now we're trying to return to that foundation. And again, one of the reasons I started the Lion Voice is because we're going to document part of that return here on this platform, at least my involvement in that return and some of the major figures. It's very important because people think that the best years of Rastafari have passed, that they were in the 70s and the 60s. No, Rastafari just get ready, and trust me, on the day when Rastafari get ready, them have to move. But that is something different. We'll get to that. It becomes part of the Rastafari DNA then, true pinnacle, the use of cannabis. Leonard House, also known as Ganguru Mirage, further cementing the connection with the East Indian and the Hindus that were here, that were using the plant at that time, and you know, ones were using the plant in that type of sacramental way. But again, we cannot put it all on the East Indian, because when we look at many African tradition, we see that the healers and the mystics in these African tradition, even in Ethiopia, that, you know, some of the Bahatawe, some of the Orthodox partake in the use of the herb. So I don't want people to feel like use of the herb. It's just that Rastafari, because we have one of the strongest PR mechanisms, which is the reggae mansion. Because we have that PR mechanism, we have become indelibly associated with herb globally. But we cannot say that we alone are in the ganja as a sacrament space, or that we alone. There are many traditions from beginning of creation. I was also in doing research, you know, looking at some of the Christian, and most of the Christian, European Christian, are against the use of cannabis, which, you know, the Almighty said all herb were good, all herb bearing seeds were good and for the use of man. So they put their own interpretation on it. And we know about the endocannabinoid system that is a part of your body, that makes up part of your body, and the receptors in your brain for the plant. So we know what was hidden from the wise and the prudent, what has been revealed unto the babe and suckling. Rastafari is one of the youngest revelation on the planet in terms of way of life, traditional way of life. And again, this revelation revealed to I and I the healing of the nation. Our elders told us this, and I said it before. When our elders first came with this sound, they were seen as delusional, heretics, all kind of thing. Again, even the church, one of the main entities to condemn. We won't talk about the prescription drugs and how most of them people, they alcohol and prescription drugs. We're not going to talk about that because it's not a tit for tat. But they condemn I and I for the use of the herb. Look down, dirty, stinking Rastafari. Yet still, it was the poor, it was the sick, it was the needy, particularly in America, who lobbied to get medical cannabis legalized, and to prove and get the studies, you know, to get the data, because a lot of the research was being suppressed. And now we find out that herb truly is the healing of the nation. And one of the reasons I love this book is because it talks about all of the uses, not just for cannabis, but hemp, which is the cousin. You can literally make houses, yeah, food, everything. So a lot of the world's problems, deforestation, where they're cutting down the place for timber, you know, hemp can replace a lot of those things. So literally, this plant is the healing of the nation. It's being suppressed because so many industries would be impacted. But this is what our elders chanted for. And we, as the younger youths coming up, we're adults now, come and see that everything that they said has been proven factual. Every striking thing, there's not one thing that the elders said in that time. As a young university student, when I was sitting at the foot of I elders and they were blocking sound, everything that they said, I've seen it come to pass, you know. And many of them are here. Unfortunately, many of them have passed away and are passing away, or they're in poor health. But, you know, they were not wrong. that is important. So the biblical interpretation, I touched on it. The herb is the healing of the nation. We look at Revelation 22:2. That's probably the most famous in terms of the healing of the nation quote, but it's in various biblical quotes, from Genesis, Ezekiel, different parts of the Bible. There are quotes that speak to the use of the herb and why the herb is good. And again, all herbs bearing seed, very important. So one of the things when I was doing the research for this, so I could speak with some knowledge base. Again, my brethren, Kadamawe Knife, I was watching he had a series on cannabis on I Never Knew TV, and talking about what's happening with the modern industry, and my brethren Angel confirm it, they're tampering with the chemicals and things. So the industry has been corrupted. Rastafari stands for the purity of the herb. We don't stand for boosting up the THC to 10,000, take out the CBD, you want to get high, you want to blow off your brain. That is not Rastafari and the herb. The THC and the CBD were put there by the Almighty to balance, and we see that the CBD has antipsychotic properties, the THC take it, so they balance each other. So when they tamper, people with weak irids now are vulnerable to the tampering and the chemicals and all of these things. So Rastafari don't stand for that part. We stand for our ITAL standard, and we're going to talk more about what that looks like on this channel. We're working on a project. We can't talk too much details right now, but again, works are happening. Rastafari, one of the things that we have to understand with Rastafari as well is that we don't look at recreational use of cannabis. All of our use is spiritual and is a sacrament. And this is why I am totally against the use of grabber, what they would call tobacco, what they would call blunts. That don't have nothing to do with Rastafari, because these are cancer-causing agents. And we've seen many elders be afflicted with cancer. We hear about the grabber war down in Jamaica, where we have people just suffering because of their use of this thing named grabber. And we see it creep into Rastafari over the years, where people even have put it in the chalice. Don't stand for that. And people who know I know I burn grabber use. Even my good brethren them know, cause enough of my good brethren still sprinkle grabber. I burn it because it's not good for I and I. It's not healthy. Strict breathing, your passageways, all these things. And we can get into the smoking and these things later. I'm looking at the time. I don't want these Lion Voice to go too long, so we're not going to get too deep. But again, these are things we can talk about in future episodes, and we'll bring on experts. I know many experts who can speak a lot more eloquently. And again, I'd say my superpower is my network. You don't have to know everything and be all things to all people. But cannabis is an important part of Rastafari culture. So coming up on 420, I could not ignore the topic because it's important. And this 420, for my research, started from a group of children in San Francisco area that would meet at 420 every day to go smoke and get high. It's become a national phenomenon. To that, I would just say anything can become anything when you put intention into it. They put it up. So 420 don't really involve Rastafari to that. Rastafari entities have used it as a way to market cannabis related events, and I don't have a problem with that. The era that we're going into right now with Rastafari, I spoke about it, Rastafari as a businessman. We have to return to that business foundation, economic foundation. I had a commenter who was coming trying to feel like him a dismiss, say, you're trying to make money off of the movement and this and that. And to I, that don't make no sense, because guess what happened now? Without economics, there's no sustainability in any of the works that we're doing.
So for all of the people, and particularly for the young Ras, the young Rastas who are coming up, don't make nobody call you. Once you're doing is in truth and rights, you're providing a product or service in truth and rights, there should be some monetization attached to it. Poverty is not a badge of honor. We do charitable works, yes, whole heap, and we don't talk about them on the internet, so you may not know exactly what we do, but we do whole heap over the years without charge and without cost, help whole heap of people, which is why the network in part is so massive, because of the work that we've done over the years. That being said though, there have to be monetization. We have to return. Leonard Hall was a businessman. That business foundation was set. Haile Selassie I was a businessman. Rastafari was a businessman from LIDJ Tafari, inherited his father's farms and properties and businesses. He was a businessman. Empress Menen was a business. So making money from doing what you are passionate about is part of Rastafari, and we come to break that chain and to shatter these false concepts that people have tried to impose on I and I. Many of them are colonizing people, as well. So we just want to block some sound. Again, if you subscribe, you're part of Lion Pride. Big up all of the new subscribers. 750 and counting. We want to pass 1,000 subscribers by May 5th, African Victory Day. Help us spread out the sound. Go forward and watch the old videos that, if you're a new subscriber, go into the Lion log and watch some of the older videos. YouTube, the biggest metric that they utilize are watch hours. So if you really want to help the channel, watch the content, comment, like, help Mr. Algo on him reading, so we can boost up this thing massive. I have major plans for the platform. I want to bring all different aspects. You could see we just did an interview with the vice president of basketball operations for the Raptors, one of my bona fide brethren from childhood. That episode is up. Check it out. But that's the type. I'm not staying in just a box and just a talk to Rastafari people. My network is way beyond Rastafari. I'm in the music industry. We want to bring some of the music industry people from behind the scenes here. We're working on major events behind the scenes. I'm in the non-profit space. We want to bring some of those people. I know farmers, I know doctors, I know lawyers, I know so many powerful people. We want to do some things on mental health. So I'm not going to stay in a box. So support the channel, become part of our Patreon, watch it grow, come in from early, and see how this channel go. We're not going anywhere, because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story, and this is the Lion's Voice.
Well, millions of Africans were stolen and taken in bondage and suffered terrible acts of terrorism. Well, millions of Africans were stolen and taken in bondage and suffered terrible acts of terrorism. Well, it's best that we live out west, living in this life full of stress. Can't you see the government couldn't care less? Work every day, can't see no progress. So it's best that we live out west, living in this life full of stress. Can't you see the government couldn't care less? Work every day, can't see no progress. See them slave for paychecks. Work every day, grow old from the stress. The days they're getting cold in the west. Remember we were bought and sold for gold down in the west. I check in my history and I see the sweat from our back to them country. Black people hungry still for the money. Them a robber, them a steal. Funny cause the slave have to face $100 bill for real. Y'all can act like it ain't a big deal, but I got to stand for the black. Color of my skin could have never changed that. No, the slave master thought y'all never talk back, but I must react. I see them on the war with Iraq, and my people them dying from the ears and crack. They lack basic things that they need, so they taste the Benjamins, living like second class citizens. Time to look within. Time for Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, and Ethiopia there from the beginning. Well, ancient memories as it was, miss the soul of the people. So it's best that we live out the west, living in this life full of stress. Can't you see the government couldn't care less? Work every day, can't see no progress, so it's best that we leave out the rest. Living in this life full of stress. Can't you see the government couldn't care less? Work every day, they still come to a rest.
The shores, beautiful faces, take me to the Niger to behold creation. Look at the lions and tigers. Mother Africa, so majestically attired. Crown from her head to her toe with gold and sapphire, platinum, copper, rubber, and manganese. Tried anciently along the ancient seas. Under the blue now, fall sipping my ancient trees.